tomorrow we're gonna go to my grandpa's house and cut some cedar trees down. And oh, 2 left hands. Well, who needs gloves anyway? We're gonna cut some cedar trees down and a couple mulberry trees that are causing issues. And so I decided today I would get the saw ready to go. Yes, I should have done this when I last used it, but sometimes on the farm you just use the saw real quick and then put it away and don't clean it. So, but it's been a while since I've taken it all apart and cleaned it. It also leaks the bar oil. Almost no matter what I do, I have to pretty much keep it like this. So I don't know if it's leaking out of the oiler or what. But if someone has any recommendations on that, let me know, because it's a pain in the butt to have oil everywhere in my shop, wherever I put this. So first things first, we're going to take the filter housing off. Check that. It's not too bad. There's a little bit of dirt in there, but I think if we just there, I'll blow the rest of it with my my compressor. I don't worry about keeping it too super clean, but if it's got a little grease on it, a little oil, it's not bad. This is where we really get into the meat and potatoes of cleanliness of the saw. So we're going to take the bar off, clean the bar out, check to see if there's any burrs in the bar from the chain. We'll go over the chain. We're just pulling it through, checking the teeth, see if there's anything missing, broken, damaged, and everything looks great. So typically on chainsaw, where there's 2 teeth facing the same way, see how this one's facing a different way? 2 teeth facing the same way, that's where they connected it. At least on my chain, that's how I know I've gone a full revolution around when I'm sharpening and when I'm checking the blade. We got the nuts loose. Now I'm going to loosen up the chain. All right, so the chain's loose. Now I can take the bar nuts off. Just in case if anyone's wondering, I'm not doing this on our table. I have a piece of plywood down because my wife would kill me if I got bar oil and gas all over the table. How did I get grass in there? That's wild. I don't remember cutting anything close to the grass. So I just take my screwdriver, the flat screwdriver end of your scrunch, get off the big bits. Now I can take my rag and get the rest of it off. Pretty clean, still a little dirty. At the firehouse, if I left it like that, I'd be fired. But here on the farm, it doesn't really matter. So a little bit of dirt, a little bit of oil, never hurt anything. The fire department, we just like everything to look brand new all the time. I don't think it actually causes an issue. We got the cover off. Now we're going to take off the chain and the bar. Lay those right there. I don't know how I got this grass. I remember. I pruned a rosemary bush and the roses, and there was some grass in the rosemary. Whew, for a second there, I thought I trimmed the grass with the chainsaw. All right, so you can see all this debris and dirt and oil and stuff. So I'm gonna clean that off. Just gonna do the same thing. Just use my screwdriver, my scrunch, and get the big stuff off, and then I'll use my rag to wipe everything down. You could use an air compressor for all this to blow most of it off, but in my experience, if you don't scrape it off first, it just blasts dirt all over you, all over everything. Well, that's not supposed to do that. I think I'm missing a bolt. And this is why you should check your stuff at least once a year. Okay, at least every time you use it. If I take that little screw off, I can take this plate off and I can clean that. And I can also clean. This is where the oiler is. That keeps the chain lubed while it's running around the bar. If that gets clogged, then you won't get any oil out on your bar, so you want to keep that clean. Clean that plate off. Sometimes these plates will get burrs and nicks in them, and I take a file and file those down, but this is pretty good. All right, now for the bar. So there's not much to do on the bar, just clean some of the dirt out, especially here, that little hole there. Not these holes, but that hole right there. That one is where the oil actually enters into this slit and oils the chain. So after we've wiped the dirt, mud, oily dirt, whatever you want to call it, off, I take the flat end of my screwdriver and stick it in there and just run it through, and that gets any of the dirt and debris out of the groove that's in there. So another thing I'm inspecting is on the bar here where the chain runs in here. It runs and runs and runs, and it's metal on metal, and so it will grind down and it'll leave a little burr on top. And so that's not that big of a deal. Obviously, if your bar is super old, the channel or the groove gets worn out and you got to replace the bar. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if there's any like grooves in it, any waves that tell me it needs to be replaced, or if there's it's hard to see on the camera, but this is convex. I think convex goes down, concave goes like this. So it has an arch in it. If there's any flat spots, I want to get, I'll probably get a new bar. This one looks pretty good. When I was learning about saws in the fire service, guy told me that every time that you put your bar on, so you can see that this has a label on there. So everyone wants to put the label right side up, but he said every time you change your chain, flip it over. That way you're running even on both sides. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's what the foresters or the tree fellers out there would say, but that's what I was taught, and so that's what I do. And so far, this bar, I mean, I don't use it every single day, but this bar is like 5-6 years old. So yeah, anyway, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start looking at all these, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but the teeth that run in the groove, to see if there's any that are wonky, if there's any that have burrs on them. If there is, I want to either file that down or replace the chain. Okay, looks like everything's fine. I know we got to replace that bolt that's missing. I can put the chain on and everything and do that later. It's kind of actually why I'm doing this now, because I got to run to town. So while I'm out, I'm going to pick up the bolt for that. So another thing you could do is take off the E-clip here and take the sprocket off, the bearing in there, and grease that. Because I don't use it that often, it's probably fine. You know what? We're going to do it. We have it apart. We're going to do it. I hate these E-clips because they fling off. Oh, well, that one didn't fling off. E-clip goes on, then this washer, then the sprocket, and then this housing. And then this is the needle bearing, which I'm actually glad I took this off because it looks like it needs some grease. So there's actually a special grease gun for these. It goes on one side and you kind of press on the other and it squeezes all the grease through here. I don't see the need to have one for as much as I do with the chainsaw. I just grab a little bit of grease, rub it on there, and make sure that I squish it all the way through that bearing, make sure that it gets inside. I'm gonna take my screwdriver, squish it in so that it coats all the bearings. I think that's good enough, but again, I'm not a forester, I'm not a tree faller, tree trimmer, so I could be totally off base and be doing it, you know, completely wrong, but that's how I've been doing it for years, and it seems to be fine. So another thing you want to look at when you have this off is just the wear inside there. While I got it off, I like to clean the excess buildup of dirt and debris that's inside there. Again, if this was my chainsaw at the firehouse, and I had it all apart like this, we'd be probably putting more degreaser on than is necessary, but that's the way it goes. So put that back on, put the sprocket back on, then the washer, and then the needle bearing. Cool. Those needle bearings do wear out over time. They're kind of springy. So if it does wear out, it'll fall off, and then your sprocket and everything will come off. So that's not good. That's happened to me before. Almost forgot. We got to put this back on. That would not have been good. I'm pretty sure I had the bar upside down, so I'm going to put it right side up. I'll probably watch the video back and realize that it was right side up, and I should have put it upside down after telling you to put it the opposite every time. We'll see. So get the chain on the sprocket, and you got to line up on that hole right there. Grab my bar cover, put it on, take my bar nuts, and you can't see any of this because I lifted it up. There we go. Got my bar cover on and my bar nuts. The chain is just kind of hanging there. Get everything started, and then you can take and start to tighten up the chain with the flathead or the flat screwdriver. You keep the nuts a little bit loose, and you flip over, which I'll flip it this way, because as you're tightening, the bar is going down, or the bar is falling down, which is actually up on the saw. So if you do it the other way, if I have it right side up like this and I do it, the bar is essentially cantered down. All the weight's forcing the tip down. And then when you put it on the piece of wood and start cutting, it has a tendency to flatten out like this and push that way, and that'll actually loosen the chain. So if you flip it over and it starts all the way up, like it would be if it was resting on a piece of wood, you have less likelihood of it loosening up the chain. So hopefully that makes sense. I flip it over. That's the moral of the story. If you watch right here, you'll see it tighten up. Another thing I learned, if it's perfect, right, how you want it, right there, give it a little bit more. Plus, when you tighten up when you finish tightening up the bolts or the nuts, that's going to tighten the chain just a little bit. If you put it, I like to put them a little bit tighter than like recommendation and like manufacturer recommendation or whatever. Especially the first time I'm going to use it. If the chain's already hot, then it doesn't matter. It will stretch as it gets hot. So let's talk sharpening. I'm not the expert. This is basic knowledge that I know. There's all kinds of different things. Like, we're not even going to get into all those different things, but I'm using a round file to sharpen the teeth. And then, so this is the tooth right here, as far as I know, and then these are the rakers. It's basically a guide for how aggressive the tooth is going to be, how much it bites. So you want these just under what the tooth is. So you use a flat file. Some people file them way down, and they're getting big chunks of dirt, big chunks of wood out. I don't want it super aggressive. I'm not the most confident in my skills. I'm pretty good with the saw because I've been doing it a long time, but I don't want those filed way down. So I have a little file guide, I think in my box here. So anyway, let's find where those two teeth are. I'm going to start on the front one, and it's not flat going across, but it's also not super angled. I just follow the angle of the tooth. So if you can see that, so that would be straight across, 90 across the bar. But I want to be in line with what the tooth is, and then also down a little bit. That's too much, but right about there. So now we're doing the other side. Another thing to keep in mind when you're sharpening this file, if you keep it right there the whole time, right? So first of all, you want to go all the way through. Secondly, I rotate, right? Like I'm moving the file. Every tooth, I rotate it a little bit. That way I'm not filing on the same spot every single time. You notice the tooth, it's taller here than it is back here. So that's why you got to file these rakers down, because as you sharpen this back this way, it gets lower and lower, and eventually this raker, if you don't ever touch it, will be taller than this and you won't cut any wood. 4 licks. That's it. The rakers are filed down. I only do that every, I don't know, 3 or 4 sharpens. If you're using it every day, you probably need to do it more often. You might think, well, why don't you just take your chainsaw in to get sharpened? Well, it's like, I don't know, $3 to $6 a chain to get sharpened. And I actually do have other chains in the box. I even have some brand new chain. But I typically run one chain at a time, and I only use the new chain or a spare chain if I'm going to be cutting all day. I don't want to stop in the middle of the day and sharpen. So that doesn't happen very often. So I try to keep the one chain going as much as possible, sharpen it, and then when it's done, I retire it, buy a new one, and then I put one of my other ones from my box on, and I use that one until it's done. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's what I do. That's kind of how to take care of your saw in a nutshell. Obviously, using premix fuel. I only use the Stihl premix for the chainsaw fuel. I think it runs cleaner. It runs better. I've noticed that it lasts a lot longer. It's better if you use the premix stuff. It's a higher octane. If you're gonna mix your own, buy the higher octane. But yeah, for me, it's worth it to spend. It's a lot more money, but it's worth it to spend more money. Again, because I don't use this every day. So anyway, if there's anything that I missed, if there's anything about the chainsaw you want to know, let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, if you watched the whole thing, like and subscribe if you want to see what we got going on the farm. So talk to you later. Thanks.